So a few more tests that we need to write here. We want to test that we can find by ID. So public function test it can find by ID. So this is going to be a simple one. We can just say result is equal to this query builder find. So this is essentially going to, so let's create a record and then find that record. Find the ID. So if we want to make our assertion just the same, we can also just grab all of this and then we can use it back here to assert. We can also assert the message and other things, but I'm not going to be doing that now. So we also want to test it can find one. Find one by giving values. So here we want to call find one by, and then we want to specify the feed. Okay, so we want to say the feed should be report underscore type, and then the value should be report type 1. This is the only one that we're using for now, so let's just keep that consistency. Okay, so now you notice that we are not finding by the ID, we are finding by the result type. So let's run the test again and see if everything passes. Okay, so now we get an error. It can find by ID, undefined property ID. Undefined property ID can find one by giving value. Okay, so we have two tests failing. Undefined type, we insert. We have the ID here. Find by giving value. Then let's see again what's the problem. Undefined property, std ID. So let's look at the method. Find one by, this returns the first result. And then so let's do a var here of the result. And then just exit. So var dump result. And then let's exit. Okay, so we have the report type, we have the message, but we don't have the ID. This is not returning the ID, and that is not the expected behavior that we want. Where ID is equal to this, where feed is equal to this. Okay, so maybe we need to select this where first. Okay, so maybe we need to add a select to this. All right, so just the way that we should use this properly, select everything. Okay, select star. Okay, and then I'm going to grab this and then bring it here. So let's run the test again. And now we can get the ID. All right, so let's get back. That was a weird bug. This is the beauty of writing test cases, because now we can see what works and what doesn't work. Now all the test cases are passing. So we're going to quickly test for updates, but testing for update means that we need to not delete the data. So we're going to create the data, and then we're going to make some changes to the data. Then we're going to call the update method test. It can update given record. Update giving record. So we're going to So we're going to insert, and then we're going to find the record, and then we're going to update it. Okay, so let's update it. We're going to say updated is equal to this table. So it should be on the query builder. This is query builder table. The table should be records or report, sorry. Reports. We want to update this. Update this where the ID. So you can say where ID is equal to the ID that we have there. Okay, so we need to move this query down. Okay, so let's come here. So update returns the object, where returns the object. If we want to get it back, how do we get it back? We could count on that. So we could say count. So this is a way to test our count method. So count. We could say if count is equal to 1. Let's say, okay. Let's say count. Then we can say assert. So can't you return as an integer or no? Let's say assert equals 1 count. So the count should be equal to 1. And then if we like, we can also query again the data and then do all this assertion that we did previously to just see that what we updated to is correct. So let's say we want to update the report type. So we can pass in an array here and say report type equals to report type 1 updated. So we should now be testing for this report type 1 updated from the result. Okay, so everything works fine, then this should be okay. Okay, so I'm a bit skeptical about this. Assert equals, not really empty. Okay, so assert equals. Then let's run the test again. You get an error here. Syntax error. You have an error in your SQL query. Check the manual that corresponds to ID equal to 53. All right, so let's go back and have a look again, the query. Because here is where we are having the issue now, where ID is equal to 53. Okay, so let's look at here again. Pass bindings. And then here, pass where? ID is equal to 53. Let's look at the test. Okay, so report type. 0 equals report type. 1 equals report type updated. Okay, so why do we have these two here? So let's get back again here. See the update method. And then we can look at the query for the update. This table, this feeds, and these placeholders. I think that should be pretty much okay actually. So we have table, feed, and placeholders. And then we are imploding with a comma, and we are imploding the placeholder with and. Okay, so I found the error. So we don't need this here for update. We only need this for insert. Okay, so you see the bug. And also for delete, we don't need this, okay? So once again, the beauty of writing tests, it will always tell us where we're going wrong, right? So it looks like the column names are not correct. Okay, so there's just one way to know what's going on. Let's come back to the code, and then right here, let's just let's var_dump this out and just exit. So var_dump this out and then exit. So we can do it outside of here. Okay. Okay, so we can see what we have here. We have 0 equals report type. 1 equals report type updated. Okay, so where is this coming from? Let's go back to the code and see the implementation for the update method, which is inside of the query builder. So we have create and then update, okay? So let's do something here. Let's do a var_dump here. And then let's exit. Okay, so we have a tab in 2 places now. And then let's run the test again. So we have report type, and then we have the value. Okay, so we really want to take this to be equal to this. Okay, so why are there 2 elements in the array? So this is a problem. So there shouldn't be 2 elements in the array, it should be 1 element, which means this should be the key and this should be the value. Let's now go back and see how we are actually using that here. Let's see, test, it can update giving exactly. So the problem is here, I'm using the function wrongly. So it should be like this, so that when we run it, to just be key value pair. Okay, so report type is equal to this, and then we can get back again to the test editor, and then come to a query class, get rid of this, and then the query builder, also get rid of this. Okay, so I think we should pass through that error now and maybe get to the next one. Okay, trying to get property ID of non-object. Okay, exactly. So we know that it was updated, but we don't have ID returned to us. So let's get back and then see what's going on there in the test. Okay, so right, this is where we are. We select star. Exactly, we find by the wrong thing. Okay, so because now we are finding by, let's find by ID. Okay, so this would be like the most reliable way to find. Let's use this ID to find. And then let's execute that again. And everything passed successfully. Now we're able to update. And then we're going to test delete. So I'm going to just grab this. And then we can test it can delete given ID. So we give it an ID and then it deletes it from the database. So we're going to insert a record and then we're going to delete. So we're going to call the delete method, which doesn't take anything. And then we call the where method. And then we delete that record. Okay, so we're going to assert that all of this is null, because once we delete that record, then we should have nothing. So basically, result set should be null, actually. So if we find query by that ID, so assert null. So this should be no, actually. So we want to assert that result is none. For this, I think we can also assert that one query was executed. Kind of tricky, but let's see how that goes. Okay. So we create a record, we delete the record, we try to find the ID, and then we should not get anything back. Let's run that again. Okay, so fail asserting that empty string is equal to null. So this is really not a big problem because we are actually returning empty string. So we can now ensure that from count or really it should be first. So it's the first method. So let's just return null. Okay, so instead of doing that, we return null from there, and then we execute again, and now we have all our tests passing. So we can create record, we can search for record in database, we can update record, and we can delete record from the database.